Okay, so welcome to the first topic for the session, Advancing Nursing Practice through Evidence-Based Research, thesis seminar for Master of Arts in Nursing. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you are in the globe. I am one of your speakers. I'm the first of your speakers, Carissa Balaria. So I'm here to discuss to you choosing a research topic. That's your first seminar session with me. Okay. Ayaw mag-click. Okay. So here is the topic outline for today. So the topic would be choosing a research topic. Okay. So to begin, we have to remember that choosing a research topic is a critical or crucial step when we're doing research. Whether you're taking your master's, your doctorate, a research article, or applying for a research grant. So usually when we think about what to do, what to select, when we select a research topic, it has to be systematic. Because if we fail to do it in a systematic or an orderly manner, you will be indecisive about what you want to do, and you will run out of time, and like you are students, you want to finish on time, you might not reach your or meet your schedule. Also, if you make a poor decision, it's hard to stick to that if you do not like the topic that you selected. You will just be frustrated and not finish it. So make it count. Let's make sure that the topic you select is one that you're interested in and one that you want to pursue and finish. Okay, so here are some of the criteria. These are my suggestions when you try to choose your topic. First is interest. You should choose a topic that interests you and maybe even excites you. Because as I've mentioned, if you're not interested in that topic, you might not be in your goal. You might not reach your goal because it's just something that you want to do to pass a course. So if you're interested in the topic, of course, you'd be excited to pursue it. You want to do it more. You want to read on it and find things about it. So make sure that's the number one criteria. You have to be interested in the topic that you choose. Okay. Newness or novelty. Okay. So something that is new, because of course everything changes, right? We learn a lot of things. Not all the things stays the same. Therefore, you have to search novelty for novelty, because if it's something that is searched over and over again, what's the point in researching it, right? If it's, been there, done that. You've studied about it so long, so many times. So there's nothing new to come out of that topic. So hopefully, when you choose your topic, it has to be new or novel. Okay. Avoidance of duplication. So when you have something you're interested in, whether it's academics in the hospital or the community, you check already. Google is your friend. You check whether or not that topic or research has been researched already. And then sometimes when you search Google, you will see on the top left corner, if I'm not mistaken, the 1 million or 16 million out of whatever number that it has been researched. So meaning it has been studied over and over again. I highly suggest you move on from that because it's already been discussed so much. So don't select that. So avoid duplication because chances are it's already been done. Okay. Relevance. Okay, I've always told this to my students. The goal of a bachelor's thesis or research paper is to just be familiar with how to conduct a research. So you know how to do it, how to perform it, what are the steps, etc. The difference between a BSN and an MAN research paper or thesis is your contribution to the body of nursing knowledge. Therefore, when you choose your topic, make sure that you have that end goal in mind. What can this topic contribute to the body of knowledge? Because simply describing something will not do anything, because I have a dictionary, I can look at that, I can have Google, so I can describe already immediately. Okay. So think about the relevance. Would it be important to my field? Would it be important to nursing in general? Okay. So that's what you have to think about. And then who are the beneficiaries if ever you conduct that study? Okay. So next, is it researchable? So like I've said, if paulit-ulit lang, if it's the same thing over and over again, why do we need to research about it? It's already been studied. It's already been proven. So if it's not researchable, we don't study it. Okay? And then choose a subject that will still be relevant for the future years. So if I study something now, can this contribute to future generations? So for example, 2023 ngayon. So let's move 5 years back. What's the most recent thing that everyone has encountered in their nursing profession? Maybe the burnout because due to COVID. So COVID researchers have plummeted because of, everyone experienced it. So everyone's familiar with the concept. But now it's dying down. But since COVID is still lingering, we still have studies about it, but we're trying to move forward from that. But do you think the studies regarding COVID would still help you later on? If the answer is yes, you can pursue that. Okay. So the breadth of the research questions. So is it the gravity of the questions that you want to answer? Is it too limited or is it too broad? So you have to find a specific topic of interest. So not too broad and then not too limited. Okay. So topic adequacy. So first off, is there a lot when you search about the topic, are there discussions about it? If there are so many discussions, that could be of aid to you in the review of related literature. However, if that's the specific topic you want to study, again, I suggest move away from that. But if there are so scant topics, literature related to your topic, maybe that's something you'd want to pursue also, because you want to contribute by adding to the body of knowledge. So maybe your research could add to that index when they search about that topic. Okay. The access and resources. So do you think, how do we know if it's researchable? If I search it, I have resources, because if I don't have resources, it could also be hard for me to find something about that. Okay. So make sure you have information regarding it, whether it's literature, IT resources, people to answer your questions. Okay. And questionnaires that have already been proven that you can utilize to further your study. Okay. Okay. Now, there are different types of literature sources available. So if as you see in the screen, the primary, secondary, tertiary. So what's the difference? So when we say primary resources, these are original documents or images that gives us first-hand account of the information. Meaning me, I felt it, I experienced it, this is my statement. So primary is the main source. Okay, when we go to secondary source, they already report on what was said by the primary resource. So this time, I'd like to, where's the highlighter? Okay, so if you look at primary, here it says unpublished manuscript resources. Unpublished, it hasn't been published, it's just been talked about, studied, or reported. But it's unpublished, okay? So let's move to secondary. Journals, books, newspapers. So what do they have in common? These have already been published. Journals have already been published, whether print or online. Books, you've already, so CNE publishers, okay? So meaning they have already researched about it and they have proven that whatever is printed in the book is factual. So newspapers, you already know that the news. So again, they quote sources, they cite people who have said things, whether in the government or in the from the government. So they cite it here in the newspapers. Now, pag tertiary resources, these are a combination of primary and secondary resources. So the indexes, database, catalogs, encyclopedia, okay. Halo, in short. So, according to Saunders, the more detailed information that you need, it is better to gather from primary resources. So here, if you want more detailed, you go to primary. Why? Because they're the first hand. You need to follow up a question. Who do you go to? Of course, the source. Who is the primary? Okay. Now, for purposes of publication, which I already informed you that would be a requirement per CMO 15 Series 2019, yes, correct. It is better to get from secondary or tertiary resources, as these resources have already been vetted or proven to be a fact, as it has been published already. So when we go to primary, it hasn't been published. When we go to secondary and tertiary, these are already indexed, published, and proven, fact-checked in short. Okay. 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 So where to find a new topic? Okay. So recent published research papers. So of course, a lot of us are continuing education, with whatever reason you want to further your career, to broaden your knowledge, etc. So of course, a requirement is a thesis paper or a dissertation if you're doing your doctorate. So published na siya. So these research papers or these researchers, they have already cited recent literature. So when they do the literature, they have a synthesis of that literature. In that literature, they already talk about all the authors that agree with their statement or oppose or contradict their thoughts. So if you look at that, you can get ideas from this to think about your own topic. Also, these published research papers, they offer recommendations to future researchers. So you might want to view that recommendatory part as well. So the reviewed articles shows the opinions of editors and comments or feedback from reviewers. So if you chance upon review articles, you read that because you might get ideas from these. Okay. So conference papers, they focus on academic discussions that may be academic in nature, that may be utilized in different fields of nursing. So the seminars, symposia, you join that so you can get ideas regarding this. Special issues, because they highlight specific issues regarding specific areas of nursing. So you read on that if you are from working in a special area in the hospital. So if you notice, the keywords here are recent, current, and novel. So this is a key step when you are deciding your new topic. It has to be recent, it has to be current, and it has to be novel or new. Because as I've kept on saying earlier, if it's already been done, it's not worth researching. Okay? Next. Okay. Now, when you read the papers that you will read, make sure that it is reputable researches. journals that are found by reputable publishers, okay? So when you look at these researches, you look at the limitations. Because if it's a limitation, if it's an admitted limitation by the researcher, you can correct it. You can make it your own and then address that limitation to create your new study. For example, they created a qualitative paper. You remember the difference between quanti and quali. Quanti means numbers, meaning they have a lot of respondents. As opposed to quali, they have limited participants. But because the difference is the goal of quanti is to generalize. Quali, that's not their goal. Okay? So the limitation is the used quali. So they find it lacking. So you might want to do a quantitative paper to make sure to get a bigger number. So, ayun, that's a limitation that you can address by making it your own. They did a quali, you do the quanti. Okay. And they also do the suggestions for future research, as I've mentioned earlier. Okay. Now, when you read all these research papers, you write down already your ideas, however limited or broad they are. Just keep writing. And then those topics that's in your head, you research on it. And for the answer here is read, read, read. So you just keep searching those keywords and then sooner or later something's going to pop. Okay. Next, you can talk about it. That's why you're here, you're enrolled. You can talk to your thesis professor, your advisor, your colleagues, and then you talk to them, what do you think about this topic? And then maybe you can brainstorm together. Okay. And then you search again for availability of the data. The more resources available, better for you. However, just make sure it's a resource. It's not something that you will study. Because if it's the topic per se, don't study that. Okay. Pag limited siya, you're sure that it's novel. However, you'll have a hard time because you will be the first or the primary source of the data. Okay. Okay, so where else? Where else can you find a new topic? So, theory. Okay, so sometimes as nursing, we have different theories. So, in the nursing profession, we have theories, right? So, what if we apply it in a different context? For example, yung si Benner from novice to expert, di ba? Patricia Benner, novice to expert. So let's check if it's applicable in the corporate world. So you check. However, let's focus on nursing, right? Okay. Next, if theories are still applicable, all of us, very rare that there are theorists, nursing theorists that are still alive today, right? Iilan na lang yan. Mostly foreign. Si Jean Watson, si Sister, I'm not sure if Sister Calista Roy is still alive, but I remember she was still alive 2 years ago, so I'm not sure now. So, what I'm trying to say is, the theorists before, long time ago, they did that in the time that it was relatable to them. It was applicable to their time. So what if we do it now? Is it still applicable? The core care theory, yung what else? What are the other theories? Environmental theory. So we have to check whether it's still applicable in today's settings. So you might want to think about the theories and how it applies to your hospital or to the academe or to the community, whether it's applicable or not. Okay. A replication of a previous study in a different setting or context. So, for example, my study before, was maggot debridement therapy. So that was my bachelor's study. In the first MDT maggot debridement therapy study was in London. They used blowflies. Okay. Here in the Philippines, they don't call it blowfly. It's a different species. We have butterflies. So the fruit flies. That's what we have. We don't, sorry, I don't know the Tagalog. The smaller one, not the bangaw. I forgot the species. So, is it allowed? Is it a replication? Yes, it is. But what's the different component? The species of the fly. Okay, so we looked at the one from London. We replicated it here, utilizing the same process that they did, and then to see if I use it here, using the same standards, the same process that they're doing, will I be able to replicate the study? And yes, we were able to do it. Okay. So, contemporary or emerging issue in your area of interest. So, when I interview my students, I usually ask them their line of work, because something that would interest them would be related to their current line of work, or or something that they've experienced personally. For example, my student before, they studied my undergrad students, they studied, the title was Death in the Eyes of a Compassionate Nurse. So meaning, these students, they experience death. The first time they experienced death as student nurses, they wanted to interview students who had similar experiences, how they experience death, catering to death as a student. So they were so moved, they were so shocked, and they wanted to make something out of that experience. So that was their study. Okay. Another thing, like for me, one of my studies is I lost my first child. So I made a study out of that. So is it worth studying? I think so. So because there are a lot of mothers who have experienced child loss. So when I posted, how did it start? I posted my story on Facebook because that was my way of grieving. And then a lot of people sent a message. And then siguro I didn't have anything else to do because I was still grieving. I just asked them if I could interview them regarding their experience. And then that was it. I was able to create that paper because it was something I was very interested in doing. It was something personal to me. Okay. So next would be ideas from colleagues. So of course, suggestions are always there. So ito, the ones at the bottom, ideas from colleagues and ideas from stakeholders. So your colleagues would be in the same place of work you're at. Okay. And of course, there will be always comments. If you're the employee, you'll have comments about your workplace or about your employers. So maybe it's not that you're bad mouthing the place, but maybe there are some things that you could do to improve your place of work. So why not check if it's worth studying? So that's one way to find the topic. Stakeholders. So if you're in the academe, your stakeholders are your students, your faculty, your partners, the staff, the employees, everyone in the university or school. If you work in the hospital, your stakeholders are your patients, your nurses, your doctors, your hospital administrator, your medical director. Okay. If you're in the community, the BHWs, the barangay health workers, the barangay captain, the midwives, and the city councilors in charge of health. So listen to them. They might have suggestions. They might have feedback. These are all topics that you can use to select your topic. Okay. So, I'm not sure if I'm talking too fast. You just chat there in the chat box if tell me, ma'am, you're too fast, okay? So, or if you have questions, you're free to pipe in. Okay. So, some tips, okay? Topic should not have yes or no or obvious answers. So, for example, is the sky blue? So, or does drinking, what do you call this? Yung self self-medication, is self-medicating dangerous? So obviously the answer is already yes, right? So you tweak that question to the pros and cons of self-medication. But again, it's been studied a lot, right? But what if you write there pros and cons of self-medication among uh, resident doctors? So because they're already doctors and then they're self-medicating. So there's the how do you call that? The spin-off dun sa topic na yun. Okay? So here, the primary objective of a research also is that you should remain unbiased. Whatever findings come out, whatever it is that you find out, it should not matter. You should not expect a particular finding. For example, everybody uses cell phones. So, sa academe, your hypothesis is the longer or the longer the usage of cell phone use, the lower the scores of the students. For example, that's your hypothesis. So if you tell that to someone, of course, that's what they'd think. Of course, they keep on using their cell phone, so their scores would be low. What if the results came out and they had higher results just because of their high cell phone use? So, and that's what came out. Can you question that? No, because it was evidence-based. It was research-based. So that's something you have to keep intact. You have to be unbiased the entire time. Okay. So please bear in mind that you have to think about the research problem. Okay? The topic is different from the problem. The problem is what you answer. The topic is just the title or the 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 general concern. The problem is the one you have to answer. For example, hospital governance. You want to study about hospital governance. So what is hospital governance? Is that a problem or a research topic? Can you do the chat box? I want to see whether you answer. Okay. Again, I will repeat. Is hospital governance a problem or a topic? Please type in the chat box your answers. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. So everyone is answering topic. I'm waiting to see if someone has a problem. Okay. Okay. So, correct. Hospital governments, it's not a research problem. The research problem would be, for example, examining the impact of hospital governance on compliance to hospital regulations. So, do you think it's something specific and researchable? So, what are my variables? Impact of hospital governance, compliance to hospital regulations. So, if there's a high hospital governance or good hospital governance, that would relate to the nurses or the staff complying with the hospital regulations. Okay, so that is the difference between a topic and a problem. So, good thing all of you know that. Okay. Next. Another, tell me again in the chat box, the global health crisis of 2020. Global health crisis of 2020. Is it a research problem or a topic? Global health crisis of 2020. Uy. Uy. Ay, may nag-problem na. Okay. Okay. So, the global health crisis of 2020 is not a research problem. It's still a topic. Because what's the problem there? What are you trying to answer? Yes, it is a problem experienced by everyone, but it's not a research problem. Okay? So, what would be a research problem there? Exploring the impact of global health crisis in terms of economic growth. Well, it's not nursing, but we were affected. Everyone was affected economically because of COVID. Okay? So I hope you see the difference. The topic is general. Okay? The problem is specific and researchable. Okay? Oh, Sister Kalis, thank you, Mr. Jimmy. Okay, she's still alive. Lagot ako, pinapatay ko yung tao. Okay. Okay, Miss Martinez, you're raising your hand.
Doc, just to review po, regarding the statement of the research problem, are we still using the what, or is, like that, or is there a specific format? Because I tend to forget already, Doc, but I remember, like, what are the challenges like this? Like,
Yes.
is still the same po? Are we going to apply?
Yes. Okay, for the statement of the problem, you mean? For statement of the
Yes.
problem, we utilize there are two things. You present it either statement of the problem or objectives. When we present statement of the problem, you have a general statement and then specific problem statements. So, for example, this study aims to blah 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 discover, enumerate, identify, explore, ayan, the whatever. Okay, that's the key statement. And then specifically, the study aims to answer the following questions. Then 1, 2, 3, SOP1, SOP2, SOP. Statement of the problem yun, ha? Now, when we go to objectives, there are, again, general objective, specific objectives. There's two ways of presenting it, either statement of the problem or objectives. If it's statement of the problem, that's the formula. Yung this study aims to, actually, that's the same statement for the general objective. The difference between the objectives and the specific questions is the what, where, what and how. What and how. We don't ask why. We don't ask why sa SOP, ha. Sa objective is you already enumerate. Okay? The verbiage tayo dito. Verbs in the objectives. Okay? Okay? Yun.
Thank
So
you
what?
po.
Yeah. Okay. So what yung mga what and how. Okay? Now, I'd like to just, this is not part of the lecture, but I'd like to emphasize, I've seen multiple times, I've already corrected a lot of people doing this. The question, they state, how is the socio-demographic profile, how may the socio-demographic profile be described? That's their statement. That's their question. How may the socio-demographic profile of the respondents be described? Can you describe socio-demographic profile? Yes or no? Okay, no, yes, you cannot No, sorry. No, you cannot describe socio-demographic profile. Therefore, the question should be what? 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 I mean, sorry, there's also grammar in research. Don't forget about that. What is the socio-demographic profile of the respondents? Because it's answerable by the variables. So the age, the gender, no, sorry, the sex, the income. It's specific. You don't describe. When you describe age, not too young, old, okay? We're not asking if you're young or old. We're asking your specific age. The sex, male or female. There are no unisex, bisex. Unless you ask gender, right? What else? Location. North of Luzon. So we have to answer it straight. So it's what, ha? Not how. Okay. Okay? Na-segue lang ako. Okay, so I'll continue. Okay, so, sorry, maliit ang sulat pala. Hindi ko mabasa. So, ayan, Josh Shapara in 2013, this was his article in analyzing quantitative papers. Oh, okay. So, this was his tips, okay? When you read the research article, ito for Quanti, you ask first number 1, what is the paper trying to explore? What? Ano ang gustong ipalabas ni paper? What's the study about? Yun lang, that's it. What's the study about? Okay. Next, what is the research gap trying to fill? So what's research gap? So the research gap is merely the topic that has not been answered. The question that has not been answered. There are a lot of studies about A. There are a lot about studies about C. But in between them, there's something that has not been explored. That is your research gap. Okay? So, from that research gap, that is proof that your paper or your topic is researchable. Because it's something you have to prove exists. It's something that you have to prove. So, your research gap, you have to prove that to your readers, to your panel members, that your study has a research gap that you want to answer and you want to solve. Next, what is the current theory in the area? Now, if quantitative ka, you can have two things. Your theoretical framework, which you want to prove, okay? Or your conceptual framework, which you want to create. Meaning this is what I envision my paper will answer. Concept. It's your concept. That's why you want to put it out there. Ito po ang vision ko. This is my concept. This is what I want to answer. Pag theory ka, based on the theory, is it applicable? Based on the theory, can I prove my premise or my question? Okay. Next, what are the shortcomings in the current theory? Now, usually, I look at this because sometimes the theory is not related to the topic. For example, favorite ko si Benner. Si novice to expert, right? So that means you're rising from the ranks. But you're studying, what else can you be studying? That's similar to that. That you are, but your study is not about grades, your study is not about rising in the ranks. Your study is ang tawag doon? Leadership and management styles. Do you think bagay si Benner sa leadership styles? So from that statement, there's already a misconnect. So therefore, when you see that, Why did they use Benner but they're studying leadership style? So you can contest that published thesis, published article. You can write to the editor and then you can create a new study. That happens. Okay? Kawawa ka lang if you are the author because you were contested. Okay. Okay. How are the hypotheses phrased? So the hypothesis is usually difference or relationship. Is there a significant relationship? Is there a significant difference? So pag difference, you compare and you contrast. Pag relationship, how are they linked together? So again, similarly to the previous one that I said, that's a theory. If it's you're not looking, you're not comparing, you're describing. So what should you so the hypothesis is already wrong because you're not comparing. Okay? Remember, hypothesis, two questions only. Is there a significant difference or is there a significant relationship? Okay. Next, what type of sample has been used in the study? Are there shortcomings in the sample? For example, the population is 10,000 and your sample size is only 50. So obviously, do you think that 50 can represent the 10,000? I don't think so. Any calculator, any statistical calculator will tell you 50 sample size is not sufficient for the entire 10,000. Okay? So there's a computation to know whether or not your sample size is sufficient. Okay? Okay? Okay. So, latent constructs, let's go back to theory. So again, you question the reliability and validity. Now, there are different types of reliability. When we do reliability, this states the consistency. Whether I look at it front or back, sideward, forward, the same results come out, okay, due to statistics. I compute it, multiply, divide, add, the same results will come out. Now, when we do examples of reliability is for the sample size, if it's sufficient, si Cronbach's alpha, may computation yan, and then the score will tell you for statisticians that correct yung ginamit natin na the tool, the research tool, the questionnaire is correct. Okay. What else? Meron pa dito validity. There are different ways to check validity. Content, what's inside of it. Okay? Tama ba yung laman? The criteria that we use to select the sample size, is it correct? For example, you selected only nurses. You selected, for example, or teka, academe muna ako. There are 4-year levels. You want to study about board exam ratings. So, should I get from first year, second year, third year, fourth year? Maybe I should only get from third year and fourth year because they're nearing graduation. Okay. Sa hospital, should I get new nurses? Maybe I should just get the head nurses and the chief nurses if it's something about leadership and management, not the novice. Okay. Okay. And then construct validity, whether the theory is aligned with your topic. There has to have a connect. Okay. And then, yun. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember about reliability and validity. Okay, control variables. Okay, so if you're doing an experiment, we have what we call control variables. So what are variables that you can control? The environment. Is it hot or cold when you did the experiment? Is the animal in a contained environment, as a cage ba siya or as outside? Okay, what else? The noise. Because if you're testing a human person who you're trying music therapy, and then compare it with silence, so that's something else. Light, so those are variables that you can control. Okay, yun, you have to check whether or not these were followed strictly by the researcher. Otherwise, you can contest it and then do your own testing. The statistics, whether descriptive or inferential. When it's merely descriptive, these are the frequency, the 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 frequency percentage, and the distribution. When we say inferential statistics, we already do a lot more statistics and testing. Okay. Okay, in the analysis, is it different? For example, we just need to know the percentage of females versus males, but you had to test them versus using ANOVA, analysis of variance. You compared and contrasted, and you just wanted the percentage. So, not needed yung ANOVA. Okay. Sorry, too much. How, okay. Do the results alter current theory? So you check again theory. Remember we talked about theory, if it's still applicable or not. Okay. And then in the end, you check after you've read the findings, conclusion, or what, or the results. You check, could I have done it differently? And if I did it differently, what are the steps I would do differently? Okay. And then there, you can start your own research. Okay. Now, when you're doing literature review, this is what you do. You record or highlight something in the papers, okay? So, automatic, you check the author, the title, and the year. Some are very meticulous about the year. There's no definite rule about the 10 years back. It's just a practice that's been done by educators because we're trying to train you to research what is current. However, if, for example, Florence Nightingale is no longer here, but she is the main proponent of the environmental theory. Therefore, if I want to cite something about the environmental theory, who is the best person I can cite? E di si Nightingale. Kahit 19, ewan pa yan, siya lang eh. So, yun. It's, uh, there's a lot of debate about the 10 years and using obsolete data. But it's not obsolete because remember, the primary, secondary, tertiary, it all came from primary. Okay? So, important si primary because they're the main source of data. Okay? So, again, the purpose of the paper, what's the purpose? Is it related to your purpose? So, you write it down. And then the contributions, what did they help in contribute to nursing knowledge? And then what are the methods and the data that they used? So, quanti, quali, how did they do it? If you want to do it differently, kung quanti sila, you do it quali. If quali sila, you do it quanti. Okay. Okay. So, also, you write the findings. Okay. What did the authors find out? So, you already have the conclusion there. You write it down. And then, at the end, you conclude whether or not the paper was written good or there are things to improve. And then, if you're really interested in that topic, dun sa things to improve, that's what you focus on. Okay. Okay, before we proceed to the next step, do you have any questions so far? Any questions? Wala. Andiyan ba kayo?
Wala po.
None. Okay. Sige, I will proceed. So the next step is to write the research proposal. So I'll just discuss with you. The introduction is basically the 4 W's and 1 H. Who, what, when, where, how of excuse me, of the paper. And ito yung tanong ni Ms. Martinez, the statement of the problem. That is the general statement followed by the specific questions. Then here, that's why there's a dash there, a conceptual or theoretical framework. If you're a quanti person, quanti paper writer, researcher, you can use both. If you're a quali paper person, you only use conceptual. Why? Si conceptual is your own concept. Okay? Pag quanti, theory proving. That's why you can have your theoretical framework. Pag quali, you are theory building. Therefore, you only use conceptual. You do not use a theoretical framework because you have to build your own theory. Okay? That's the difference between quanti and quali. For the significance of the study, you have to look for the beneficiaries. Yes, Ms. Martinez?
Doc,
Mhm.
regarding po sa selection of the theories, is there a certain guide po for us? How will we know that it is really applicable on our study po? In the
Aha.
selection of that theory, Doc, especially if we will be pursuing quantitative study. So how will we know po of all the theories? Like, are we going to use the independent and dependent variable, and then we will be selecting like a theory that will be applicable on that po? Please guide us po, Doc.
Okay. So thank you, Ms. Martinez. So when selecting a theory, you look at your research problem. You look, yes, at the variables that you're trying to study. And then from there, which matches closely dun sa different theories. And mind you, even if you are studying as a nurse, it is not necessary that you only utilize nursing theories. Okay? You're not in the bachelor's anymore. You're already in master's. So there are a lot of theories that would apply. It's just the keywords. Look for the keywords that would match the description of the theory. Okay? I hope that answers it. Okay, Miss Martinez?
Yes po, Doc. Thank you po. Good clarification po yun that we can use other theories pala na hindi lang pala na sa nursing lang po.
Yes. It's better that we use the nursing, but what if, you know, um
Yes po, Doc. Lalo kung bago po yung
there are only a few nursing theories left. So, there's not so much that we can use. Okay, so let's learn to love other theories as well. Okay, there's a question here. What if mixed method? Can we use both? Yes. If mixed method, both are allowed. Okay? The theory is for the quantity, the conceptual is for the entire thing. Okay? Now, sa significance of the study, these are intended for who your beneficiaries are. Okay? So if you're in the academe, who are your beneficiaries? The students, the teachers, the nursing administration. If you're in the hospital, who are your beneficiaries? The patients, the relatives, the staff, and the hospital administration. You get the drift, okay? So there's a hierarchy that we follow for the significance of the study. For the RRL, I know I was just supposed to discuss research topic, but I will tackle a little about RRL later. Okay? The methodology, I will reserve this for we will have 2 lectures. One is quali, one is quanti. I will not discuss methodology yet. Okay? Sa referencing, I will have this discussed in the publication kay Dr. Gira. He will be discussing this. So methodology, ang mauuna tomorrow is si Professor Hil Soriano. For me, he's the expert in quanti. And then quali, I wanted to invite someone. However, they are not available. They're in Australia currently. So, sorry, but ako ang magdi-discuss ng quali. But it would be on Monday. Okay. Okay, may nagtanong pa. Okay. This is recorded, so if you're on duty, no problem. Okay. Okay. I will proceed, ha? Okay. So, the introduction, I already mentioned the 4 W's. Okay. The why is you. Why do you want to study this? Okay. The readers has to see why did you conduct the study. Okay. And remember, this section should have an impact. So meaning when the reader reads it, uy, I want to continue reading and find out more. Okay? Make it interesting. Now, because we are in the social sciences, nursing tayo, there's this notion that we have to write scientifically. Sorry, I'm a quali paper person, and I don't really agree with that. Because for me, I want my readers to understand. So I make sure, because as nurses, right, we have to talk, how do you say it? Layman's term. When I write a paper, I want my readers to understand it. So if it's going to be too scientific, they might be bored, right? So if you're quanti, of course, you have to be scientific in presenting the numbers. But when you explain it, make sure that the reader can understand what you're trying to say. Because what's the point of writing a paper if no one's going to read it? Okay? So make sure it's captivating. When you write, make sure I understand and I feel what you're trying to tell me. Okay? Okay, let's go to the literature review. Okay, so another thing I've been noticing, when people submit, they divide it into foreign and local literature. That was the past. We don't do that anymore. So we present literature thematically. What do we mean by thematically? For example, nurse burnout. Okay, nurse burnout. So, what are my variables? So, nursing, uh, ner the nursing profession, duty rotation, and then stress, and then fatigue, and then burnout. So, themes. Those themes come to my mind when I think about how I want to express to the people what nurse burnout is. So if you noticed, your review of literature, it tells a story. Actually, the entire research is supposed to just tell a story. So think of it this way. When you read the RRL, the review of related literature, when they read it, they'll be understanding piece by piece what you're trying to get at. Okay? So you want to describe the nursing profession so they have an idea what it's like to be a nurse when they're working, how heavy the workload is, then the rotation that they're shifting, etc. The number of staff in a given rotation, and then what is stress, what is fatigue. So later on, they'll figure out, it must be stressful. And then why it led to burnout. Okay? Then the review of literature should be concise yet comprehensive. Please do not continue doing copy-paste. You do not need to copy the entire article. Later, I'll show you examples how you can create your own notes. And then from that note, the exact excerpt from the literature, you just build on it and create and base it on your own words. Don't get me wrong, it is not opinionated, but it's just an explanation of the direct quotation taken from the original article. Okay? Okay. Okay. There's this literature resource reference that I want you to look at. You can screenshot this page. So 10 simple rules for writing a literature review. You can look at that. Okay? So it's not just a compendium of references. The literature review should tell a story. Okay. So, how do you prepare for the literature review? Relevant material. You have your topic, madami yang lalabas na Google Scholar is your friend. You have one topic, the major one is of course the number one or maybe look at the variables related and then you just select. Okay? And then you synthesize information. Okay? You check the information. What are the information? The authors, the title, the year, what are the methodology used, who are the people and then what are the findings and the conclusion. That's all you need to know. Okay? Then you use your critical thinking because you have to analyze what was written. Okay? And then you paraphrase. Please do not if you're going to use direct, you are allowed to use direct quotation. However, you have to cite your source. Otherwise, that's plagiarism. And then when you cite them, you use the quotation marks plus the APA style for the author's name. And then when you paraphrase their thought, you still have to indicate their name. Don't forget to cite, okay? And then you evaluate your entire literature and don't forget, as I mentioned, you cite, okay? So, as I mentioned, you have an audience. Make sure you have an outline in mind. That outline is your thematic presentation. Okay? Yun. That's how you do it. Ako, I use index cards. I just write it first. Old school, sorry. But since I have messy handwriting when I'm in a hurry, I can also use Excel. So when I do the Excel, because there's tables, I just put there the headers, title, author, year, the question, the methodology, and then the results. And then from there, I can search keywords that's related to to my theme, and then I build on that. Okay. Okay. Search and research. So there are different database. Okay, Google Scholar is one, but there are a lot of open source journals. You just have to look at it. Sometimes it's locked, but again, that's why you look at the different database because you might be lucky it's open there. Okay. Okay, you take notes while you're reading. Kasi that notes can also be your explanation. It's something that you felt. It's something that you imagined, okay? Ay, sorry. What did I do? Okay. Keep the review focused but make it of broad interest because if you answer your question already in the literature, you are already being biased. The review of related literature is crucial for quantitative studies. In qualitative studies, I do not recommend, let me correct myself. In qualitative studies, I do not recommend that you do literature review right away. However, because you're in the academe, you have no choice but to do a literature review. Why? What's the problem in quali? In qualitative, the main thing we need to avoid is to be biased. If you do already literature review, you're already going to get so many ideas about certain topics which might, oo nga, pwede to. Yes, yes. Oh, yes. This is correct. This is, So it's already giving you ideas. We're trying to find out something, right? So I do not advise that you do RRL right away. Okay. So you can do that after you've proposed, but because you're in the academe, you have to. So make it broad, because if you're already specific, you've already answered your question. Okay? Okay, be critical and consistent. Don't summarize. The goal here is not to summarize, because it's not your paper to summarize. But you have to discuss and just point this out, the research gap. According to this author, blah, 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 blah. However, they failed to point out blah. And then, yun yung i-discuss nyo. That's the research gap. Hence, because of this research gap, the researcher sought to continue the study. Okay. And this is what I'm telling you about. This is a sample of what you do. Okay. When you do the literature, this table, you put the author, the year, and then the title, and then who they interviewed, and then ito yung source para they know that it came from reputable journals, and then the results. Okay, that's one example of doing literature review. This is just a guide. That's not the exact literature review, because if you read literature review, it's so long. But this one, you just get the main gist, and then you build on it. And then you can go back to the some they add another column here, and then yung hyperlink. So you can just go back and find direct quotations that you can use that's related to your study. Okay? Okay, ayan. More examples. Sometimes, if you find something of interest to you, you can also highlight it. If it's printed, highlight it and then the exact page. So that when people bother looking at they can actually read also what you read. Okay. So the review of literature is important. Some researchers, what they do, they start with the review of literature because, like you're looking for a topic. You start with reading literature. And then from there, you spring to introduction. You start the introduction. Then you go to who will benefit the study. And then what kind of methodology is suitable for your paper. So I've already mentioned the significance to which beneficiaries, which people would be greatly benefited by your study. Okay, the relevance of the study. Okay, and these are some of my references. Okay, so thank you for listening. Any questions? Bilis Pwede pa pala ako mag-quali pero wag na. Any questions? I hope you learned something from that. Okay. Thank you, Sir Jimmy. I hope, instead of hating research, because it's really frustrating. I'm telling you that I've been there. When I was taking up my master's, I had an advisor. I guess I didn't finish it right away because I was so angry because I didn't know what he wanted. Namura ko ang aking advisor. He knows that. We're very good friends now. But because of that frustration, when I was so frustrated, I told him, what the HELL do you want? So, sabi niya, he told me that, I want you to feel that, and then you'll be able to write what you want. Sabi, true enough. He accepted already my proposal. So, It's frustrating, I'm telling you that. But if you don't like what you are studying, you really will have a hard time finishing. So that's the most important thing. It has to be important to you. Okay? So any questions? So tomorrow is an earlier schedule for Quanti. That will be Professor Gil Soriano. Ako, I will be the quali on Monday. So mag-rest muna ako. Okay, obvious my voice is ano. Thank you, Sir Jimmy, my Sigma colleague. Yan. O, mag-plug tayo ng Sigma, Sir Jimmy, ano. Okay.
Yes, Sigma.
Oo. Yes. To all the nurses here, we're inviting you to,
To
to
join us.
Sigma. Sigma, for everyone's information, is the only nursing, how do you call it? The only nursing, ano tawag doon?
Organization.
Sa nursing, ano,
Virtual.
the world. Sa,
Yeah.
may tawag doon. My mind is not working. Okay.
Overuse na, Doc.
Oo. Pagod na ako and working also. Ano siya yung Sigma, the only blah blah blah.
Kaya mo yan, Doc.
Wait, I know na, I know na, I know na. I can see, I have my bio note. My bio note.
Yes.
The only honor society of nursing in the world. Oh,
Honor. Ang hinahanap
oh.
mo. O, diba? Honor.
Only honor
Honor.
society. Oo. Honor
So,
society siya. So,
350,000
yeah, if you
members
are
global.
sa Philippines kasi quite new si Sigma mga 5 years ago. But if you're in the States, if you're in the UK, if you're in UAE, when they see in your resume that you're Sigma, oh wow, because there is a rigorous process before you get accepted. Oh, di ba? Kami ni Doc Jimmy member, magka-family kami doon.
Diba? Pag, ano ba tawag dito? Pag in-endorse ka ni Doc Carissa or me, automatic membership na do, di ba, Doc?
Yes. Oo. Because vetted na namin kayo. Okay.
Opo.
So, saglit lang pala yun. Kala ko ano. Because Dr. Liabres told me not to discuss both because when I discussed, I don't know where I discussed that. He asked me to talk about quali research and quali analysis. I think I spoke until midnight. So he said, don't. So, because I'm too daldal, obviously. Oh, mukhang wala namang tanong. The quali will be, so tomorrow is Quanti, 8 p.m. Philippine time. On Monday, it will be me. Qualitative yon. I guess I can also talk about the analysis since some of you are already thesis writing, right? Ay, hindi pa pala. Thesis sem pa lang to. And then, Tuesday, si Dr. Glenn, he will discuss to you the research manual of Wesleyan. So you know, you can have a guide already how to proceed. And then he'll teach you citations. I asked him to do that, to include that. And ayun, the main topic is publications because CMO 15, Series 2019 says that we have to publish already. Yun. Otherwise, malate kayo mag-graduate. Okay? Yes. Okay, so madami akong kasalanan sa mga ibang estudyante na hindi ko nare-replyan. So, okay. Basta message me. I will do my best to answer. Yes. And according to Dr. Liabres, he will already be assigning advisors to you so you can be guided in writing already your paper. So, you just wait for Dr. Liabres to assign. Okay? I know research can be really hard, especially if you don't have anyone to ask about the topic, the process. But I have to already tell you, although I teach research, I prefer quali. So, although I teach research, I teach quanti, I'm more comfortable with quali. So, don't ask me quanti, ha? Okay? Because I don't, I can understand quanti, but I prefer quali. Okay. Okay? So, no more questions? Naka-duty siguro kayo. Wala na. Okay. Can you open your cameras? Mag-screenshot lang ako sandali. No, yan pala. Okay. Open na po tayo. Or sleeping na yung iba. Ako din gusto ko na mag-sleep. Okay. Okay. I-stop ko na yung recording.